further so there's less confusion to my colleagues.
So we'll go to a point of order.
Chair, you said to refer specifically
So
to
if
the
you
point of
could
order?
be very specific, Mr. Angus, on your point of order, because I'm not, so we can then go back to Mr. Janice's point of order.
Absolutely. Just very straightforward, Mr. Chair, because I believe I asked you this at the previous meeting where on the speaking order, and I was on the order, and then today I believe I began on the order. So do I still have the floor? I just want to make sure in all the schlemazel that's been going on, whether or not I still have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Angus, for your point of order.
On that point of order?
I'm going to respond to Mr. Angus first.
Yeah, it's on the point of order.
No, but the chair would like to respond to the point of order, and then you can provide a point of order. Mr. Angus, you do have the floor, and
Thank you.
yes, but now you can go to the point of order.
Yeah, so if I recall, the meeting last week was suspended. So therefore, the member who had the floor at the end of the meeting, which was a Conservative member, should still have the floor. That has not, that's the way it works. It's not it was a suspension. You did not adjourn the meeting. If you adjourn the meeting, that's completely different because that was something that happened previously. But because you suspended the meeting, it's a continuation of the meeting.
Mr. Patzer, on your point of order, are you referring to a specific standing order on the point of order? And if you could clearly identify what that standing order is. It was provided that Mr. Angus had the floor at the previous meeting, and we had continued on into today's meeting with Mr. Angus on the floor. That is the chair's ruling. If you would like to challenge the chair, I will leave that up to you.
Point of order.
We have a point of order by Mr. Angus.
Thank you. It's just that you have ruled on this, so for Mr. Patzer to appear and then make a false claim, a ruling was made that I have the
Point of
floor.
order.
If he does not want to accept your ruling, you've already ruled on it, so this is not up for debate.
Point of
You have
order.
ruled.
Thank you.
You've been
Thank you,
challenging.
Mr. Angus. Yes, I have ruled on it, and Mr. Angus does have the floor, but a point of order from Mr. Patzer.
Yeah, well, by him to say that I'm making a false claim would insinuate that I'm lying, which you know, Mr. Chair, he is not actually allowed to do that. But at the end of the last meeting, it was a Conservative member that had the floor, not Mr. Angus. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Point of order.
So, Mr. Patzer, it's been dealt with. The chair has made the ruling. If you would like to challenge the chair, you can do so.
We don't want to challenge
Point
it.
of-
We want
point-
to enforce
yeah.
the rules.
Okay, thank you. Thank
of
you,
order.
Mr. Patzer. We have a point of order from Mr. Carey.
Can I just have a point of order on the point of order from Mr. Patzer before we go to the next point of order? Because it's on the same point of order. I think it's...
Mr. Janice, I'm going to put you on hold. You have to hold for a sec. I'm going to deal with one point of order at a time.
It's just
You
in
know what?
relation to the point of order.
I know, but your colleague next to you has a point of order, and I want to hear his point of order, and I'll come back to you.
Okay, I'll
And
look forward
hopefully
to it.
there are no other point of orders, and I can come back to you on your point of order. So, Mr. Carey, on the point of
I think
order.
I had the original point
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And as you know, I'm not a regular member of this committee, but I have been here on the Hill for a long period of time. I just find this very unusual. I was wondering if we could ask the clerk just to intercede and explain how things left off at the last meeting, so we can be very clear on this before we vote on anything.
Thank you for the point of order, Mr. Carey, and joining us today. The chair has made a ruling on the speaking order, and if you would like to challenge that ruling, you can, but that ruling has been made that Mr. Angus has the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for that.
I have a point
Thank
of
you,
order.
Mr.
I do
Angus,
have the floor,
have
right?
you do have the floor, but we have a point of order for Mr. Janice.
Okay,
I
but-
have-
and
I have
did
an
the floor.
outstanding
Before I
point of
finish,
order.
I did have the floor at that last
Outstanding.
meeting, and it is false to say I didn't. Is that not correct, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair?
Mr. Angus. As I've clarified, you did have the floor
No,
at
you
the
don't.
last meeting.
Thank
And
you. I look forward to
we're gonna
speaking
go
on
to
this legislation.
We're going to the point of order by Mr. Janice.
Thank you, Chair. I have an outstanding point of order in both senses of the word. Just first of all, to respond to Mr. Patzer had raised a point of order, and you had asked for a specific standing order. So, in order to support the important work the chair is doing, I did want to draw the attention of the chair to the specific standing order that Mr. Patzer was referring to. It's Standing Order 116. standing orders generally apply, saying in a standing, special, or legislative committee, the standing order shall apply so far as may be applicable, except the standing orders as to the election of a speaker, seconding of motions, limiting the number of times of speaking and the length of speeches. 2A says, unless a time limit has been adopted by the committee or by the House, the chair of a standing, special, or legislative committee may not bring a debate to an end while there are members present who still wish to participate. A decision of the chair in this regard may not be subject to an appeal to the committee, and B, a violation of paragraph A of this section may be brought to the attention of the speaker by any member, and the speaker shall have the power to rule on the matter. If, in the opinion of the speaker, such violation has occurred, the speaker may order that all subsequent proceedings in relation to the said violation be nullified. What Standing Order 116 makes clear is not only that the chair does not have arbitrary power to make up rules as he goes, but that in the particular issue of limiting the amount of time a person can speak or their ability to speak in accordance with Standing Order 116, a member, that is a unique case in which a matter of privilege may actually be brought to the attention of the chair directly. And as such, I would urge the chair and the committee to make sure they are acting within their rules, or shall I say, reform their actions to align them with the rules, because there are standing orders, and you don't just get to make it up because you happen to be the chair.
I'll ask you to pause. I have a point of order from Mr. Angus.
Thank you, Chair. And certainly what the standing order says, it can be brought to the chair's attention. The chair does rule. If they don't like it, they challenge, because this is an attempt by the Conservatives to stop this member, who represents the New Democratic Party, from speaking on workers.
Chair, is this
So
a point of order?
these are
Have you asked the
tactics.
member to cite
So
the
chair
standing
has
order
ruled
as
on
you're
this.
requesting
So
of
Mr. Janice
us?
does not have a credible point because he's brought this up again and again. The chair has
The
ruled.
standing
I will
order
ask
from the
chair,
member, as you have requested
ruled
of
on this?
Conservatives.
And if you have,
What's
can we
the
move
standing
on?
order the NDP MP has to refer
I will
to?
once again remind colleagues that when a member has the floor and he's making a point of order, that we allow the member to be allowed to finish what he is saying, because we know how difficult it is for the interpreters. Earlier today, we've had some challenges with a number of members speaking at the same time. It does cause significant health and safety
Absolutely.
issues for our interpreters and colleagues who are trying to follow along.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Angus.
Point d'ordre,
Okay,
Monsieur.
we have a point of
Président.
order from Mr. Samar.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Thank you for pointing that out, the point about interpreters, because I am following the debate entirely thanks to their services. So I was listening to the point of order, version 118 by Mr. Genuis, still on the same point. Now, we are in a bit of a dead end. Can we not find a solution by asking a vote? Maybe the committee can make a decision to say that Mr. Angus has the floor. If I refer to the point of order point made by my colleague, there's reference to something that's being adopted by the committee. So in terms of the amendment that's on the floor, can we come to an agreement or at least vote to understand or ascertain if Mr. Angus has the floor, so that, that's clear and determined for everyone?
Well, thank you, Monsieur Soumard, for your intervention. I would ask my colleagues if, Mr. Angus does have the floor, and that's been identified and ruled on. I would ask my colleagues here if you believe there's somebody else who should have the floor. You can ask your committee colleagues and take it to a vote.
Point of order,
I appreciate, Monsieur Samard, what you've raised as a concern. I would ask my colleagues if you believe that Mr. Genuis wants the floor, you could ask your colleagues to support that, and he would do so. But I will also ask, hold on, Mr. Genuis, I'm going to finish. I'm not clear particularly on your, you've come to the Standing Orders 116. If you're arguing on behalf of Mr. Angus's ability to speak, as he has the floor, and specifically what the relevancy is to what you've identified from the standing order that you've mentioned to the ability of Mr. Angus to be able to participate and speak today. So can you
Yes.
So
Yes, I
on the
can.
point of order, there's two things. Are you arguing on behalf of Mr. Angus so he can speak? It's unclear to me, but what is the relevancy of what you're and how it relates to the speaking order of Mr. Angus being able to participate?
Thank you, Chair. I'm more than happy to offer further explanation if my. I thought reading the standing order would be clear enough, but I will explain further. This standing order specifies that the ability of members to speak is not sort of dependent on the approval of 50% plus one of the rest of the room for them to be on the list or stay on the list. The way the process works is that the chair does have this chair does create a list. If members wish to speak, they should be added to the list. And but crucially, once a member has the floor, this standing order specifies.
Okay,
that,
we do have a point of order from Mr. Angus.
Okay.
Certainly, I've read 116, and it seems that my colleague is attempting to falsely claim that the speaking order that was agreed by the chair isn't legitimate, but he doesn't have the nerve to challenge the chair because nobody agrees with him. So, Chair, I think this is a specious argument, and it is actually undermining my rights under Section 116 and the ability of a member to speak. And so I'm invoking my rights under 116 and ask you that you would tell these members to stop this constant campaign, to stop me from speaking on a bill that is very important to working people across this country. That's why I'm here. That's why I show up. That's the work I want to do, and I want to speak to the amendment and to the motion at hand. And so they are using 116, which is my right to speak, to undermine me and undermine the work of this committee. So I'm asking for a ruling, Chair.
Chair, I'm happy to continue my point of order. I think that did
Mr.
venture into debate.
Mr. Jenness, it was clearly identified that Mr. Angus had the floor. No. If you would like the floor,
No, Chair. Point of order.
Mr. Jenness, if you would like the floor, you can identify to me now, and we will ensure that you have your opportunity to participate like all other members.
And you'll cut me off partway through because you've had enough.
On this
That's
committee,
not how it works.
All members on this
There are
committee do have the
rules.
right. If you would like to participate, you can identify that you would like to participate, and we can proceed to make sure you can when your turn comes. If colleagues would like the order that Mr. Angus is not the next speaker, then you can challenge the chair and present who should be. I mean, this is
Chair,
what's
that's not
been.
that's not how
the
it goes in
rules
that's not how
work.
it goes
Excuse me,
in a
Ms. Stubbs,
4-H
so
meeting.
there are
Never
rules.
mind
Point of
the
order.
standing committee
Point of
of
order.
Point of order.
Parliament.
Okay,
I'd
so
said
we're going to go to a point of
There are rules, and the
I
chair's
will
job
ask-
is to uphold the rules.
order.
Point of order.
I will ask one member at a time, particularly not to speak when I'm trying to provide a ruling and information to committee members. Mr. Patzer, we'll go to your point of order, and then we have a point of order from Mr. Angus. Mr. Patzer, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think it's quite clear how this is supposed to go. We shouldn't have to have a challenge to the chair every single time that there's merely a simple question around how we finished the last meeting.
Mr. Patzer,
That's what it comes
not a
down
point
to.
of order.
Yes, it is a point of
It's
order.
not a point of order. It's not a point
It
of order.
sure is.
Chair, you said one person at a
Okay,
time.
I will, but
You're yelling
and
over
you
me.
excuse
keep
me,
yelling over people who are
Mr.
trying to
Jenness,
speak.
you do not have the floor.
Yeah, let
I
Mr.
do.
Patzer finish.
we are not going to engage in debate on the rationale. A ruling was made. And if
He
you
has
would
an
like
ability to make
to
arguments
challenge
about
the
order.
chair,
It's in
you
the
have the
rules.
ability to do so.
Mr. Chair, I do not think that it reflects well upon yourself that every single time that we restart a meeting that you're going to tell people that
Mr.
if
Chair,
you
the
don't agree
member is
with me, that you
talking
have
to
to
you.
challenge me on
Okay.
every single point.
Colleagues, once again, I've said this earlier today. If you are not going to provide me the opportunity to allow members to speak, and multiple members are going to turn off their mics.
I'm trying to speak.
I know, but there's a number of other members who are turning on their mics and speaking. It is a health and safety issue for our interpreters. For our interpreters. So I am. Okay, once again. So, Mr. Patzer, I'm going to go back to you for the point of order. Very succinct on the point of order, not debate. On the point of order, very succinct why you have what your point of order is and what your standing order you're referring to, if you could please.
Thank you. And thank you for turning your mic off, because I had the floor. And the only person who turned their mic on to interrupt me was you, Mr. Chair. So I think that that was a bit of a problem. And again, the point I was simply trying to make is that we do not need to have to challenge the chair every single time
So
that there is a question. We expect the chair to be able to uphold the rules of the
Point
committee,
of
the rules
order.
of the standing orders. They're there for a reason.
Thank you, Mr.
of order.
Patzer, on your point
Being
of order.
interrupted again.
The ruling has been made. We're going to go to Mr. Angus on the point of order, and then I have Ms. DeBrusen on the point of order.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Chair.
Mr. Angus, go ahead.
What
On the point of
concerns
order.
me is now that we're into the second day of me attempting to participate, and I've been shut down consistently, is that it's devolving now into classic intimidation where Ms. Stubbs sits right beside you and yells at you. She doesn't even ask for point of order. Mr. Patzer refuses to follow the rules. He's outraged that we have rules. Challenge the chair or the rules. I sit the furthest from you, so I'm attempting to exercise my obligations as an MP following the rules. I respect the rules of the chair. The chair has made a ruling. The chair has been challenged, but what we're seeing now is just a level of intimidation. So I'm asking you, and for the to ensure that the Conservatives are not shouting over and trying not to shut down the chair and other members who actually would like to
Thank
participate.
you for your point of order, Mr. Angus. Mr. Bruson, on your point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are now, even just today, hours into a debate about, it's literally a debate. You have made a ruling. I've said this before. You've made a ruling that Mr. Angus is next on the list. What we're having is multiple points of order to prevent him from being able to speak. And we are on a sub-amendment to a scheduling motion. It is not an unusual type of motion. If the members opposite from the Conservatives would like to vote on that sub-amendment, debate that sub-amendment, that is an option. But preventing any debate on this scheduling motion through points of order is just frankly disrespectful to the members of this committee and to the Canadians who we work for.
Point of order.
Thank you.
Point of order. Point of order.
So I'm just going to, for clarity, Mr. Jennis, I'll come to you on the point of order.
Thank you.
But I'm going to ask you to hold for 1 second, please. Colleagues, I'm going to remind everybody once again, Mr. Angus does have the floor, and we would like all members to be able to participate. If a member would like to participate, he can or she can let us know, and we'll make sure we get to you as we go through the speaking order. But it is, I think, incumbent to all of us to allow members to participate when they do have the floor. And when they're finished, we'll go to the next member. So I'll ask members, if you would like to speak, let me know. And we'll make sure, hopefully very quickly, we can get to you to debate this important sub-amendment. And just to remind everybody, we are on the sub-amendment for Timmins. We have a motion on the floor, we have an amendment, and we have the sub-amendment on Timmins. And Mr. Angus does have the floor.
Point of order.
Yes. So now we'll go to the point of order,
Chair,
Mr. Jeffs.
Chair, I guess I just have a really simple question for you that I think will elucidate this matter. Who, in your view, had the floor before Mr. Angus had it?
Thank you for your point of order. That's been ruled on, Mr.
No. But I'm trying to help you, Chair. I'm trying to help you get to the truth here. Who had the floor? Who had the chair? Who had the floor before Mr. Angus?
Mr. Jennis, a ruling's been made.
No, who had the floor before
at this
Mr. Angus?
committee, and
Because the
ruling's
answer
been
is
made.
me, and I never seated it.
Mr. Jennis,
Right?
thank you for
This
your
is a
point of
simple
order.
matter.
The ruling's been made.
Chair,
and I would ask.
I have a number of other points of order
Well,
that I was trying to raise before I was
I'll ask you
interrupted
to-
repeatedly by Mr. Angus. So
I'll
I
ask
will.
you to hold, Mr. Jennis. You just made a new point of order. So if you could turn off your mic. Mr. Angus does have the floor. Mr. Angus does have the floor. And because that's been ruled on.
Thank you, Chair.
I have a point of order,
He doesn't
Chair.
have the
Chair,
floor because that's not
I'm
the
trying
Chair, I have a
to
point of order.
Okay,
remind,
Mr. Angus, we have another point of order.
but I actually did have a point of order. So again, they will
So
use
sorry,
every
are you
attempt-
speaking, Mr.
I'm speaking on my point of order.
Okay, your point of
Chair,
order, and
is
could you
that-
just be succinct and relevant?
Absolutely, because I'm not here to filibuster and play games. I'm here to get something done. A ruling was made, you made it. The
of order, Mr.
Conservatives
Chair?
are continuing to
order?
interrupt and intimidate and undermine the committee. So I would say to you, Chair, we need to move on. If Mr.
Point of order,
Janice
Chair?
is actually willing to participate as a credible member, he can challenge,
order,
but he
Chair?
refuses
Thank you,
to
Mr.
challenge
Angus.
because he cannot win.
Mr.
So
Angus,
this
thank
is
you.
Point of order, Chair?
intimidation.
Okay, we're gonna suspend.